Yo, 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 what is going on, RoK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I got a special episode. You might not be able to see it that well. Here we go. Ooh, there you go. I got the little one just hanging out here for a special ep. And hopefully she might be chillish, so we're going to have to see how things play out. But today I wanted to touch on what I thought was something, really important when it comes to how you can really build good activity and good player retention and engagement within your kingdom by just doing one simple thing. And we're going to touch on that. It's probably going to be a shorter video, but hopefully just as equally impactful for those of you who are looking to do things that will show to your player base in the kingdom, and as for you as a player to see this happening, to show that, they care. And it's not just a numbers game. I'm not just a unit, or I'm not just someone on a spreadsheet, right? But that they actually care and value my, as a player, opinion, my feedback. These are things that I think are really important. So, before we get started, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. And of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. So, number one is going to be doing feedback forums, doing town halls, going out and asking players via direct messages for feedback on certain topics, and just engaging the kingdom, using your Discord announcements, using your King's Mail within kingdoms, and you come up with ways to ask questions and to get a gauge on what what does the average player feel is going on in the kingdom. More often than not, there's usually a lot of things that are kind of left, in short, they're left unsaid, right? It's not necessarily the amount of people that are engaging as much as it is also about the amount of people that are not engaging. That is usually a little bit more of a telltale sign, where you can have a lot of players that are active, but for whatever reason, you may not have, for example, you may not have a lot of social engagement within the kingdom, right? Maybe you get 50, 60 people to show up to a fight, but you may not get 50, 60 people to engage with you in a chat. Or maybe you only get 10 people to show up on voice when the time comes on your Discord. These are things that by taking a couple of these steps that I'm talking about, you can boost these numbers. You can see more overall engagement because you are taking the time to give the people what they want, which is some TLC, baby, some tender love and care. That's what we're talking about. So, a few things that you can do. Obviously, you don't want to give away all the bread and butter. But one thing you can do is by doing an anonymous feedback form. You can do this a couple ways. One of the easiest ways I like to do this is via a Google form, where you'll write up some questions. Maybe you limit it to 5 or 6 questions, maybe less than 10, and at the most. And you, for example, would ask a variety of maybe open-ended questions. Maybe you'd have kind of a rating bar from 1 to 10. And then maybe you'd also would have some yes or no's. Maybe you have some multiple choices that you work in. And you're asking people to get a gauge for what is their feeling in the kingdom. How are certain things going? How's the communication? How's the structure? How involved do you feel in the kingdom? Do you like joining in on voice? Or if you haven't been on voice, what are some things that we could do that would maybe get you engaged and invested to do certain things, whether it's showing up for events, participating, over-investing resources to AVA events, maybe showing up to town halls, maybe showing up to more fights. These are the types of things we're talking about. And so it's sometimes good to be able to ask the player base on what do they feel about the kingdom? How do they feel things are going? Getting their feedback. What are opportunities they think are there? What are things that maybe they don't know enough about that they would love for you to address? So that's one way you can do this, right? You can also do it by, some types of bots. They have polling bots and other things like that you can use on the kingdom, where you ask a variety of questions and then you have, players answer anonymously. That's another example of something that you can do. And then you get into doing things, for example, like town halls, right? You try and convert as many people over to the Discord as possible from in-game in the kingdom, and then you try and bring on as many people into your town hall meetings. One of the ways that you can do this is by going out and figuring out players' activities. So an example of this would be just one brief version. You go on Discord and you create a poll or two polls. And your one poll is what day of the week are you available? And then the second poll is what times per day on average are you available? And then you can take the average between the most requested day and the most requested 2-hour window or 1 or 3-hour window. And then from there, you can go ahead and look to set up times within the window, whether at the beginning of the window or at the middle of the 2 or 3-hour window. And then you each week, right, or however often you do them, you try it out at a different starting time per day for the most requested day and then maybe the second most requested day. And you're basically playing trial and error games to figure out how you can get the most amount of attendance for those types of things. And in town halls, you might go over state of affairs, you might do some Q&As and ask the player base what they think. When you can get to a point, and I'll tell you this as an example, in a few of my projects, I got to a point where we were having 70, 80, 90 plus people tune in on a weekly basis to our town halls that we would do in the kingdom. If you can get to that point where you're having that many people show up for town halls, or even maxing out your voice channel to where maybe you have to take it to a stage channel, trust me when I say you are doing something right. And that is a phenomenal feat, especially if you're in a kingdom where maybe you're already doing that. And if you already have great structure and a great outline to follow when you are discussing and holding these meetings, kudos to you and props. I know, we're almost done, sweetie. And then I guess the very last one here is taking time to engage with your players individually. And one of the easiest ways to do this is by using your alliances as a way where you would go about and you would message players, for example, that are in the alliances where you would be, for example, maybe you draft up like a template message, right? Maybe you come up with a copy-paste message that you can direct, that you can DM players that are in your alliance. And maybe you do a feedback round internally. Maybe you reach out to them and you provide them with resources or what you think are really important things, like trying to convert them and get as many people onto the Discord as possible. Or maybe you do just kind of a random question and it's more of, hey, you're a leader and you just want to check in with the players, right? And you're just saying, hey, I just want to come around and check in and see how you're doing. How's your playing experience been? Are there, would you like to be more engaged? And if so, what do you think some opportunities are? Some of those things you can do on smaller scales before you maybe arguably do it on a bigger scale. But you kind of, instead of kind of treating it like the feedback form type option, you present it more as, hey, you just want to do a check-in, right? You just want to do a status check-in or a courtesy check-in to see how you're doing. Right, and how your experience has been so far, how your day-to-day is. Maybe you even get a little personal and you ask, hey, hope everything's going well for you today. Just wanted to check in and say, hey, and hope you have a great day. And if there's anything I can do, you just let me know. Those types of things, right? Really looking at the kingdom as more of a community that you are building and you are responsible for, not only socially, but monetarily, from a day-to-day experience approach, and really looking at it in that way will help you as a kingdom and as a player really be able to differentiate between kingdoms that really care for you and as a kingdom, those that really care about the player base versus others who, maybe they just treat you as ones and twos on a spreadsheet. So with that in mind, that is pretty much it for me. I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know your comments down below as far as, are you in a kingdom that does anything like this? Do they have a different approach to doing these types of things? As a player, how do you feel about this? Would you love for kingdoms to do this? Do you wish your kingdom was doing this? If you're in a kingdom that does do this, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's more of a win or more of a pro than a con? I would love to hear. So let me know in those comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, we cheese will catch you all later.